line between a functional book versus an artist book definitely for me is the artist book can, can be displayed in a gallery or a museum. It is more meant to be visually pleasing than it is to be something that you read. There may not even be words in it at all, but it's still going to be a book in its simplest sense of the word. Like, somebody's going to look at it and see book, but then they're going to look beyond that and find the art. What excites me most about exploring, bookbinding as an art form is just all the really cool things that I have already seen that can happen and be made, and all of the things that haven't been made yet, and the things that I haven't even come up with in my own brain yet. I'm really excited to know where that goes and what I end up with at the end of that road. Experimentation and innovation when it comes to my own projects, as far as I'm concerned, whatever I want to include in it is fine with me. With a project that's being made for someone else, you have to take into consideration, what their limitations are and what kind of rules they want to impose on the project. Well, I haven't made an artist book in way to tell a story yet, but I think that the binding itself, when I do make a book like that, it's going to have to play a major role in it, from the material I use to the colors, the textures, what stands out and what is pushed to the background. It's all going to matter. It's all going to be part of the narrative. The outermost binding, the outermost layers are what starts your story off. If I were creating an artist book about silence, everything about the book would have to be soft and muted, not only in colors, but materials. You would have to have materials that, when they rubbed against each other, made very little to no noise at all. It would be just that, a silent book. You wouldn't hear the rustle of pages and the crinkle of the cover or the pages. It would all have to be the rich velvets and, brocades, heavy materials. That's what I see anyway. And probably, for me, dark colors. For whatever reasons, I associate silence with, darkness. I'm sure that says something about my psyche. Displaying an artist's book to encourage audience, participation, if you will, you'd have to put them on pedestals and, tables and, places where people normally would not be so careful about, the no touchy rule that museums and art galleries normally have. You'd have to make sure they're right out there at chest height, or less, so that encourages somebody to reach out and touch it. Some of the challenges that we face with artist books, as far as preservation is concerned, is when you are an artist doing multimedia art, it's hard to pick materials that are archival, because you're not looking, that is not your main concern. You're looking at colors, textures, a feeling, a pattern, and you go where that takes you, and often that doesn't take you down an archival path. Accessibility with artist books becomes difficult because of the time that you put into the book and the materials that you put into the book increases the overall cost of that book exponentially. Often you're making these books and you're spending days upon days on them, and the labor adds up, and so often only a collector is able to afford that, to buy that book when you're done with it. The average Joe off the street doesn't hardly ever even see these, let alone get to take one home. As my skills develop, I think that my artist books will they'll become easier to put together and quicker to put together, but I think, I will learn how to work with more materials, which will definitely be able to stretch and bend the ideas behind the books that I make. And I think they will become more complicated, and they will lean far more into the artistic and the abstract than they will be just what I know now, which is, a standard, book or journal that sits on your desk. Like I said, I still find 4 years later, I find, restoration and bookbinding in general to be very therapeutic and meditative. But as I move over into artist books, I am really excited to start down that path and learn new techniques that aren't normally used in bookbinding. And, I'm interested and very excited to find out where that goes, where that path leads. My advice for somebody who's just getting into the trade of bookbinding or artistic bookbinding, whichever, is to really seek out the traditional bookbinders, because even if you only learn a basic knowledge from them, that knowledge is sound, and you can build off of that and know that your projects are going to last a lot longer than somebody who just looks at a random TikToker that doesn't have that training. There's a big difference between the two. And I'm not saying that there's anything really wrong with the random TikToker. I'm just saying, if you want your projects to last longer and really be around and not fall apart on you in 5 years, seek out those better educated for it. Seek out a traditional bookbinder.
Okay.
We're out there.
Thank you very much.
Yep.